what he brings to the table is a level of energy and positivity that makes you just believe.
He's not just my realtor, but he's my property manager as well as a dear friend.
It was very easy to get a hold of him. He was very good at communicating and always picked up the phone when I called.
My name is Gil Levy, and I'm honored being able to give Robert Morillo a positive testimonial, review, shout out, whatever you might want to call it.
Robert is a very fine individual, very solid individual.
I've been working with Robert for the past few years. I'm also his go-to photographer.
He's on top of his job, and he's very driven and focused, and he will get the job done.
He is your go-to. Robert does not take any shortcuts. This man is trustworthy. He's efficient. Work ethic like nobody else in the market.
If he doesn't get the job done, he can tell you who can get the job done.
And I highly recommend choosing Robert for your next listing.
All right, welcome everybody back again with So You Can Florida, the podcast. I'm Robert Morillo, your host with the Cardona Signature Group of Compass, Florida. I'm here today with Amy Bey from Liberty Mutual. Mutual, I don't know why I just had trouble saying that. But yeah, she's with Liberty Mutual. She's going to enlighten us upon life insurance and all the different policies that she has to offer for you as Floridians and even nationwide, right? The services are nationwide?
Yeah, I can service other states.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. We're gonna dig into a little bit of what life insurance policies cover and how it'll be of the most benefit to you and your families. So I'm gonna allow you to introduce yourself, and then we can dig a little bit into more about what you do.
Sure. As he said, my name is Amy Bey. I'm a licensed agent with Liberty Mutual Insurance. This year, August, I'll be with the company for 5 years. It was probably one of the best moves I've made. Absolutely phenomenal company. I love what I do, so awesome. I think that's super important. I really do enjoy what I do, and I'm transitioning from the center where I was, at the office out into the field. So my goal really is just to build more relationships in the community, teach as many people as I can about insurance, and how it really can protect you and benefit you in some of the most catastrophic moments.
Events, life events.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So as far as your product goes, your policies and whatnot, what is life insurance in general, and where would it apply most to someone, and at what ages would it matter what type of policies apply to someone individually?
That's a great question. So a lot of people think that life insurance has to be specifically for more mature people, right? People in the older age, if they pass or something happens, they leave money behind for their family, their beneficiaries. Anyone can have life insurance. We actually encourage new parents to have life insurance on their babies, on themselves. At any age, you can take out a policy. And that's what I try to remind people, that the point of life insurance is for your family. It's not for you. I talk to people all the time. They're like, I just need enough coverage to cover my funeral. Well, what about your debt? What about your mortgage? What about things that you may leave behind for your family? Those don't, unfortunately, just disappear into mid-year, right? Somebody has to be held responsible for that at some point. So you can leave money behind for your children, for college, set up their future, if something were to happen to you. Now, what I've noticed, and I'm learning more and more about the industry as I go, what I've noticed is that it is not just, unfortunately, elderly people that are passing, especially in the time like a pandemic and different things happening. You see more and more younger people passing. Unexpectedly. And one that hit hard years ago was a friend who passed, and she was about 33 years old. phone, and it was unexpected. They kind of knew something was going on, but it happened really quick. Like you can be diagnosed
What was
with
the cause
something.
of death?
I believe it was a form of cancer.
Okay.
That was not something she had, for years. It was something that.
It was abrupt.
It was
Like they
very
found
quick,
it briefly,
right?
and
They
then
found it, and
soon
then
after.
it was soon after she passed. So let's say she had a life insurance policy. If she did have a life insurance policy, and she developed it after she took out the policy, then she would have had her funeral and expenses covered.
Okay.
But she didn't have any insurance at all, so her family had to set up a GoFundMe, and they couldn't have really a formal service for her. There were a lot of things that the family incurred because of this sudden death. Now, it could be an accident.
A car accident.
We hear all the time things happen, unfortunate circumstances. So, what protects your family if something like that happens?
So, in essence, life insurance policy is like a preventative measure to protect your family and those who you leave behind, whether it is a foreseen occurrence or something that happens unexpectedly. Yeah. So, with that being said, how does it work with the policies that you would place on someone like your child? Are the rates lower?
Yes, that's a great point.
How does age factor into the cost of the policies?
So the beauty of life insurance is the younger you are, the better price you're going to get. So that's why we do encourage that if you are going to take out a policy, you do it while you're young, you do it while your kids are young. A lot of misunderstood things with concepts with life insurance is, I have it with my job. Like, I've been with my company 10 years, I have a life insurance policy, I don't need it. But what happens when you retire? They don't give you that life insurance policy. That policy is with the company.
It's only existential while you're with
there.
the company.
Exactly.
Okay.
So let's say you retire at 65, you go try to get a life insurance policy. You're gonna pay way more than you would have if you would have taken it out when you were 30. So the point is, you have one through work, which is fine. That's great. They're usually super inexpensive. Then you have a supplemental policy, something in addition to something that you have at work, especially because let's say you go out on long-term disability. Let's say you end up, for some reason, having to go out on long-term disability.
You get hurt on the job.
If you get hurt,
experience an injury.
If you get hurt during that time that you're on disability, there are stipulations that that policy won't pay out. So, you always have to have that extra protection. A lot of people say, it's a waste of money. It's always a waste of money when you don't need to use it, right?
Of course.
It's like auto insurance. Everybody's like, give me the cheapest. I just want the cheapest. I just get it because I have to get it. But if something happens, they're like, I don't have enough insurance.
Now you're riding around with a bumper that's messed up.
Exactly.
And you're trying to tape it together.
And that's not even the hard part, because you can always find a mechanic or somebody that can work on your car. But what happens if you hit someone and they're in the hospital for 3 weeks?
Do you know how much that costs? Doesn't cover the cost of their stay.
So 1 week in the hospital with a broken collarbone and all of these different services they have to implement to, your scans, your blood work, your therapy, even during your stay and after can be applied to that accident. And you're going to be responsible for that. If you hit me and you hurt me, you're going to be responsible. You're liable
for the amounts surpassing my coverage.
if you do not have enough coverage. That is correct. So a lot of people take out state minimum, which is like $10,000. But what if my injury is 60? So now Robert has to come out of his pocket for 50 grand. So the whole point is not only just to have coverage, but have the right coverage. And if you understand what Liberty Mutual is about, that's what we specialize in, the customization of your coverage. Only pay for what you need, right? Get out all the fluff, get things that you don't need out the way so you can get beneficial coverage in the event something happening. You're absolutely covered.
Okay, so when it comes to that process, the intake process, coming in, someone comes to you interested in life insurance. Let's just say they saw this episode and they hit you up. What is the intake process? What information do you need to gather from them? And then how do you assess what type of coverage would be to their best benefit?
Right. So the service that we use through Liberty Mutual is My Protective, and we have a questionnaire, and we would fill out the questionnaire. It would be, of course, name, address, date of birth, your weight, We do have policies where you do not require medical, and then we also have policies that you can, increase um, the amount, and then you would go through a medical assessment. So there are different policies that we offer, but there's a checklist that we go down, and we ask the questions, just like for auto insurance, just for like the other policies as well. So once we meet all of those questions, we have it go through underwriting, and then they will finalize what, the amount we get approved for and what the monthly payment would be.
Okay, and what do you guys look into? Like, is there any like medical history, criminal history, anything background check related that you guys look into?
We do through underwriting. There is a background check as far as medical, and high blood pressure, asthma, any form of cancer,
Pre-existing
conditions. Yes, and that's with, again, each policy depends on which policy you're taking out. Is the extent of the
history search? Okay,
yes,
okay.
that is correct.
All right.
But like for auto insurance, we check your 5-year history. Some companies may check 3, but we go back 5 years because Liberty Mutual is one of the only companies that writes an annual policy. So most people have a 6-month policy. So every 6 months they can change their price, the company, or things change with us, we guarantee the rate for the whole year. And we do all of the underwriting right over the phone up front. Like for life insurance, we'll send it off and we'll have, the company through My Protective do the underwriting. But with us, as a licensed agent with Liberty, I do all the underwriting right up front over the phone. Like if you say, hey, call my friend Amy, she can give you an auto quote, I can do the quote right there.
Gotcha.
So,
On the spot, almost.
On the spot.
Okay, and what are all the different types of insurances that you guys have to offer? That probably should have been one of the first questions.
Yeah. That's okay. So we offer auto insurance, home insurance, condo renters. Renters is super important in Florida too. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't need it, it's a waste. No, I will tell you.
But actually, and it's good to have in place because it's actually very inexpensive,
Oh, super
right?
inexpensive.
Like
absolutely.
a couple $100 or less.
Not even.
For
I think
a whole year, right?
Yeah, my first renter's policy I got was like $112 for the year.
Yeah, very
It's
inexpensive.
super inexpensive.
One-time fee, right?
And people say, you can break it up monthly too.
Oh, okay.
You don't even have to pay for the whole year. But some people say, well, I don't really have a lot of valuable things. Well, what happens if somebody comes and slips and falls in your house? Even though you're renting, you're mopping, they break, again, their collarbone and break their elbow, and they can't work. Who's liable for that, right? So you could get $100,000 in liability for $10 a month. That's the most important. Yes, to have the coverage for your personal items, but personal items can be replaced. But what happens if somebody gets severely injured? That's really important when it comes to insurance. Just make sure the liability portion is covered. But so we offer home, auto, renters, condo, boat, motorcycle. Actually doing an event this weekend with Harley Davidson here in Orlando.
Where at?
On Lake Underhill.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Lake
they have a
Underhill.
car show, which is going to be really nice. But so motorcycles, umbrella policy. Have you heard of an umbrella policy?
An umbrella policy, I would imagine that covers more than one realm of coverage.
So yes, so I didn't know about an umbrella policy until I became an agent. An umbrella policy covers you individually. With us, with Liberty Mutual, each company may have different stipulations, but with us, an umbrella policy covers you individually anywhere in the world. So if you're on vacation in Mexico and something happens and you find yourself in a situation where you were going to be sued, your auto is not going to cover you because you're not in your car. Your home's not going to cover you, right? Your liability for your home because you're not home. But what covers me individually? So I have an 18-year-old driver. Let's say she hops in the car and she hits someone, or she hops in a friend's car. It happens all the time. Oh, let me drive. And she drives her friend's car and she causes an accident and somebody gets injured. I can be sued. So it's $1 million in coverage. And it covers me and my family anywhere in the world for liability.
You and your family as a group.
Anybody on my policy is covered.
Gotcha.
So that's something I think.
And how do they determine the rates on that?
Well, that goes based on what exposures you have. So how many properties rented. So anybody that's a homeowner should definitely have an umbrella policy, right? Because if you don't have $50,000 in the bank, right? Then in Florida, they can't put a lien on your home, but in some states, they can put a lien on your home that can garnish your wages.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the umbrella policy would come in. That's the part that protects you from your assets and your savings.
So they're gonna do
tapped
it based
into.
on everybody in the family, their activity,
Right,
their
accidents.
travel
Right, so it's gonna,
frequencies.
so like what we use to determine is how many accidents have you had in a certain period of time, jurisdiction, like where do you live, age, and all of those things. So if you have, obviously, when I added my younger driver to my umbrella policy went up a little bit, right? I will tell you, I feel I've been with Liberty Mutual as a policyholder for 6 years. I've only been an agent. It's actually going to be 7 years, and I've only been an agent 5 years. So I've been a policyholder longer than I've been an agent. So I kind of get to see both aspects of the business.
And how did you get into Liberty Mutual? Did you?
I knew a friend. I
okay.
knew someone, and he referred
So-
me, and he said, "Hey, it's a great company."
Okay, so you getting with them as a policyholder
Yeah.
first, did that help attract you into
Oh
the
yeah,
business?
yeah, no, absolutely. I was pretty upset with the company that I was with before, and I'm not gonna say who it was, but I was pretty upset with them. And my buddy said, "Hey, let me quote you with Liberty," and I'm like, "Oh well, try it." And it was like $10 more a month, but I was getting so much more. I had the dedicated agent. I had the annual premium where my price wasn't going to change. And then I think it was $10 more, but it was like, I
But
got
when you
renter's
say-
insurance.
When you
too.
say the price is not gonna change, like they cap it out at that rate, and
Well-
can it go lower, or it can't,
Well, so
it just can't
we
exceed?
refer to it as it's a guaranteed premium for the year.
Okay.
So in the insurance industry, there are different things that can cause premium to change, right? So let's say you're with a high-risk insurance company. This is the easiest way to explain it. Let's say you're with a high-risk insurance company. They take on anybody. They take on people that have suspensions and DUIs and horrible driving history, and they give you this rate. And every 6 months, when it's time to renew, your rate may change, right? That high-risk company, you could be with them, and you don't have anything going on your driving history. You have an excellent driving history, but your rate still may change because they have to pay out all of those claims to people that they're taking on. They're taking on more risk, right? So then your premium change. Liberty Mutual is a very low-risk insurance company, so you can't have, an extensive driving history and expect to get a policy in a sense, right? We take on less risk so that if Robert gets into an accident, we can pay out your claim. If Robert goes for renewal and you have a good driving history, we can maintain more stable rates. So it's a different quality of service that you get with Liberty Mutual than with other companies. We're a privately owned company, so we're not owned by stockholders. We
Gotcha.
don't have other people's hands in the pockets.
Expecting certain
Right.
returns.
So
and-
yeah, we're a privately owned company, we're a mutual company, and we're low risk, so we can maintain more stable rates. And that's a lot of the things that people don't know about Liberty Mutual. They think it's just another insurance company, but you get what you pay for. You're gonna pay cheap. You're gonna be hassling with the company to get a payout.
Just to get a payout,
and that's the experience I had with the company I was with before Liberty Mutual.
So it kind of forced you into seeking
Oh, yeah.
better quality
Right.
service.
Pay a little bit more, but I got a better quality service, and then I ended up.
And ultimately, more peace of mind.
Oh
right?
yeah, no, absolutely. That's the point of insurance. They always say, like, what's the point of insurance? The point of insurance is so that I know if something happens, I'm safe. I'm taken care of. I don't have to worry about how much money I have to come out of my pocket. I know a lot of people have younger drivers and they never add them to their policy because it's so expensive. But if something happens, it's gonna be even more money out of your pocket. So okay, pay an extra, $100 a month to not have to pay 40 grand down the line if somebody gets hurt. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So do you service individuals and families only, or does Liberty Mutual have like a commercial division?
Yeah, we do.
They offer policies for businesses.
Small businesses, yes, absolutely.
And how does that work?
We have a small commercial team. I am not currently licensed as a commercial agent, but we do have a resource where we can send over. And in my office, in the Orlando office, we're located down at the UCF side. We do have a small commercial agent. So anybody that has any, small businesses, we can get them quotes as well.
Okay. All right, interesting. And what as you're growing with this industry, what is it that you find people come to you, like what scenarios are most presented to you where not so to speak like it's kind of too late, but it's like what scenarios do you see most where it was like perfect timing for them to understand and have that kind of like eureka moment, like, well, thank God I'm doing this now before
Right.
anything happens, rather than, you know, being asked out or not, you know, not necessarily wishing or regretting they had
Yeah.
done so sooner.
Well, when I was in the office in the DRC, you get people all the time, the first thing that they want to do is save money, right? So they call us and, oh, I want to save money. Well, what's going on? My price went up. So, and then you look at their policy and you're like, man, you're paying this amount of money and you have this much coverage. And then we can go in and customize and maybe pull out things that they don't need or shouldn't have and, you know, save money in other ways but give them more coverage. So that in the event if something happens, you have more coverage. So a lot of people say, oh, I want super low deductibles. Give me a $500 deductible. Because they don't want to come out of their pocket if something happens. But then you have state minimum. So it's like, if you increase your deductible just a little bit, let's say you go to a $1,000 deductible, you can increase your liability coverages, which is super important. It's easy for me to come up with an extra $500 if something happens, but is it easy for me to just throw another 20 grand out there if I hurt someone, right?
Yeah.
So there are different ways you can customize your coverage and get better coverage and still save in the long term. You know what I mean? So there are people that, again, they want to save money right away, but we can customize and go over the coverages and say, hey, this is really what you should have, and this is how we can help you. It's a little different because I was in the call center, so I really don't have a lot of people that call me back and say, oh man, this happened, Amy. You know, I'm so glad I got my coverage with you, but I do get referrals where, you know, hey, you know, my mom, she got you and something happened and you gave her great coverage at a great price, quote me. So that's how I know I did my job with people, you know. Now moving into the field, I'm sure it's a little different of a relationship where people will call me back and say, man, Amy, I'm so happy I had an extra 10 grand. This is what happened. I'm happy I did get that extra, you know, umbrella policy. I'm being sued. I'm happy I got renter's insurance. A big hurricane just hit Florida or whatever the case is. You know? So that's the part that I'm looking forward to. You know, just again having those relationships in the community with everyone. But did I answer that question?
Yeah, pretty much. Funny thing about being sued, right? Because the scenario you gave about somebody getting hurt in your home, for instance, I remember us being kids and being at a friend's house and simply saying, oh, if I get hurt at your house, I'm gonna sue you.
Oh yeah, no,
and
that's
stuff like
always
that. Like that used to always get thrown around. So now, like, how often are people being sued for things of that nature?
Kidding?
Like,
oh my goodness.
I personally haven't experienced someone falling in someone else's house and seeing a lawsuit proceed out of it. So how often is that happening?
You'd be surprised, and it'd be the people closest to you. I'm sorry to say it, but it'd be the people closest to you. Vaguely, I can remember going through training for the umbrella policy. Of course, they keep us up on training all the time, so each year we hear different cases. And me being a baseball coach, there was, this stuck out in my head, there was a gentleman that was a coach for basketball. I don't know if he had any false promises. No, it was, the kid was in school, but he was doing private training.
Oh, okay, outside of the school.
Right,
so he was a coach for the high school?
No, I said
the
that wrong.
team?
I'm sorry.
Okay,
He was a private trainer.
Okay.
We have an athlete who is looking to get a scholarship, right?
Okay.
The parents sued the private trainer because the kid didn't get the scholarship.
Sued the private trainer?
Now again, I don't know if he said you're guaranteed to get it. I don't know all the stipulations of it, but I would never think that I could be sued.
But it had nothing to do with injuries or anything like that, right?
Not at all.
Oh, wow.
He was sued.
So just because the training must not have been effective enough to secure the scholarship, so they felt, oh, wow.
There was another
And is there a policy that would have protected the trainer from?
A liability policy. That's the umbrella policy.
Oh, gotcha.
Remember,
gotcha.
you, individually, not in your car, not in your house, can be sued. So what protects me individually? And that's my umbrella policy. And again, I pay $17. Well, before I added my younger daughter, I was paying $17 a month for $1 million in coverage. You can spend that at McDonald's in one day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And,
One
and
meal.
that's why I try to get people to think like when I'm servicing them and I'm educating them on insurance. I get it. Sometimes it's a little more investment to go with a better company or get better coverages. But think about what you spend that money on. Anyway, right? So if you just take out an extra unnecessary expense and invest it in something that really protects you and your family, you're making a better decision. And that's super important. And I don't want to get too deep into that. But again, it's financial education. A lot of people unfortunately lack. And coming from where I grew up, in the schools, you were lucky if you graduated. So it's not like we went in and we got all this financial education. It's like, you only know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know. So the whole point is to do things like this, right? So you can teach people,
educate others.
Educate others. I think that's the most important thing is when you learn something is to give back and teach others on why things are important and why things maybe that's not as important.
Offer value.
Yeah, exactly.
So where are you from? Well, I'm pretty sure people are gonna be able to tell from the accent. And what brought you to Florida, essentially?
So that's a good one. So I am originally from Queens, New York, Far Rockaway. I absolutely love my hometown because it's taught me so much. And I was there for 25 years. And then we moved to Virginia because my husband was in the Navy, Paul was in the Navy. So we're there for like 3 or 4 years. And when he separated, he realized, this is not something he wanted to do for the rest of his life. He separated from the military. It was either go back to New York. We really didn't want to go back to where we came from. It wasn't, we loved our family, but it was like go back to New York with our young kids or go to Florida where my brother lived. He lived in Deltona. And we came to visit. And of course, when you come to visit, it's like,
it's like a paradise, right?
It was paradise. And this is back in 2006, where Deltona was really underdeveloped. So it was like very tranquil, quiet, So it was like, okay, you know what, let's go to Deltona. So Paul came out here to kind of set up shop, and I stayed back in Virginia, and I did all the work. It wasn't a lot, but I did all the work in the townhouse, and I sold the house, which was really awesome. And that's how we ended up here. Did we like Deltona the best? No, because it was a little too slow paced for us. Coming from the biggest city. So then we kind of migrated over to Altamont area, which is busy, but it's not quite New York, but it's not quite Deltona.
I gotcha.
A little busier.
I gotcha.
Let us here.
And then, so you said you started with you got in as a policyholder with Liberty Mutual as of 2000. Well, it's 7 years ago, right?
Yep.
And then started with 2 years later.
Yeah, in 2016.
Okay, so what general areas do you cover here in Florida? Is it statewide that you're able to meet with people and discuss their potential coverage?
So, building relationships, I can service the entire state of Florida, but my farm area is Osceola County and Orange County, and then south of Daytona, like Melbourne. Because there are other reps, obviously, we each farm certain areas, but through relationships, I can service anyone. If you say, hey, Amy, I got 10 people I want quotes, but they're all the way down in Fort Lauderdale, that's okay. You refer that business to me.
Gotcha.
So that's why, again, to me, building relationships are important, kind of making my presence known in the community. I absolutely love being a baseball coach. I always say I wish I would have done it sooner, but it's not my timing, I always say it's God's timing.
How long have you been doing that for?
Like 5 years already, I think.
And before that, you used to play
Maybe
softball,
4?
or
Yeah. So
did you play softball growing up, or?
I played softball. I started when I was 7 at Rockaway Little League on the beach in Far Rockaway. And I only started because my friend Kathy, she's like, you have to come. It's so much fun. And I was like, all right,
Invited you.
And she invited me, and it was just like I fell in love with the game from there. And we grew up watching baseball. My mom played softball, so So that's kind of why I didn't want to play, because I always had to be dragged to her games and stuff. But I was like, all right, I'll go. But we grew up Mets fans, you know, growing up in Queens. We went to baseball games and stuff. So I was like, all right, I'll give it a try. And then I was really good at it, like just naturally great at, you know, throwing and catching. But I also was a tomboy, and my brother always was into sports, so he was always a step ahead of me. So my brother Will, he would.
Will's older?
Willie's older than me.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm the baby.
yeah.
So Sally Azalea is older. My sister is Azalea also, like my
Yeah,
name. So
yeah,
Azalea, then William, and then me. So I tagged along more with Willie because Sally was much older than me. So everything he did, I, you know, kind of followed behind.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure at some point he used me as his catcher, right? He would use me as
Practice
his
with
little
you.
brother, practice every wrestling moves on me, everything. That's a whole nother podcast, right? But so I went, and naturally I did good at it, just being kind of familiar with the sport. And then I will never forget, they threw me into pitch out of nowhere. So we lived by the beach, and there was a sandstorm, and sand blew into our pitcher's eyes, and they had to run her to the emergency room. She
Really?
couldn't open her eyes, and they're like, Amy, you pitch. And I'm like, what? And I had 9 strikeouts.
What? A first game
And I was in the
pitching.
newspaper. And I still have the article. I'll never forget. Like, to me, that was like the highlight of my childhood. One of the highlights.
Did that girl who got the sand in her eyes, did her family have an umbrella coverage?
I don't know. I don't know.
Are you still friends with her?
No. But no, that's so funny. They probably should have some type of coverage at that point. But
another question: How long has Liberty Mutual been around?
over 100 years.
Over 100 years. So they did exist at that time.
Oh
So
yeah,
she
right.
could have
Yeah,
had an umbrella coverage.
yeah, she was. We've been around for over 100 years, and hopefully they had some type of coverage for her, even medical coverage.
Yeah,
you know?
something.
Yeah. But so you know, I grew up playing softball. Then I played Rockaway Little League forever, and then when I went to Far Rockaway High School, I played on the team, and man, it was just so much fun. You know, it kept me busy enough. I still ended up having my daughter young, which so I guess off season I was doing other things.
Playing the other field.
Right. But that's okay. You know, I couldn't imagine my life without her. You know, so still had the love for baseball. As I got older, I was a Met fan, but then Yankee games were more fun. To go to Yankee Stadium, oh my God, we used to just go and
The energy is different.
Energy was so different.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like a Yankee fan, Mets and Yankees. And then when I came out here, Brendan, my nephew, always played baseball, and then Willie was asked to coach for the
His
team,
team?
right?
Okay.
Yeah, and then he kind of pulled me. Well, actually, I'm lying. He didn't pull me in. I said, I want to coach with you.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
okay.
pull me
Follow
in.
suit, just
put
like
me in, coach.
childhood.
Yeah. So kind of following behind him. And so we had a head coach, and he was the assistant coach, and then there was probably another coach, and then there was me. And everybody said, oh, you're team mom. I'm like, no, I'm not team mom. You know, to me, that's like,
I'm coach mom.
yeah, right. I'm coaching me, not team mom. There's a difference. So my boys always joke around with me, team mom. No, I'm a coach. But so we started off, I think we were coaching the Red Sox, which, you know, my brother disliked. So as soon as he became head coach and he could take over his own team,
he chose
got
the Yankees.
And then we just kind of followed, you know, my nephew through his years. So right now we coach 15 to 18 years
Oh,
old.
wow. Okay.
And it's funny because the last game I was just,
The
you
high
know,
school kids.
it's a lot. That window, that age, you have kids that think they know everything. You have kids that are just trying it out for the first time, and then you have more advanced kids. You have some kids that give 50%, and some kids are 110%. They eat, sleep, and, you know, poop.
Breathe.
Yeah, that's a better word. Baseball. So you have so many different personalities you have to deal with, and this is your time. So we coach on our own time. We volunteer. To me, that's big for the community. And I always tell the boys, like, I will always be here, even for my older kids that moved on from the team. I'm always here as your coach, as a friend, as a mentor. Because to me, growing up in Far Rockaway, we had our team, but again, outside of baseball, what did we have? You know, you just run the streets, hang out with your friends. My parents were working; they weren't really there to say, "Amy," you know. It's not. It wasn't possible. So to me, it's like taking these kids' idle hands and keeping them busy, and it's keeping them off the streets, even though we're not in the streets of, you know, like New York, Miami, bigger cities. But there's still a lot that goes on in communities and neighborhoods that kids could get caught up in. So to me, that's like giving back, you know, to the community that way.
Awesome. And what about does Liberty Mutual take in part in anything, or like can you as a representative of Liberty Mutual sponsor events?
Oh,
and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have an awesome program that's called Give with Liberty, where we donate thousands, hundreds and thousands of dollars to different charities and things like that. It's a great program for nonprofit associations and things of that nature. We actually volunteered, and because of COVID, it stopped. We used to go to, man, I forgot the name of it. It's right in Paramore. There's a homeless shelter there. We used to go and
feed them.
No, we would actually play with the kids that were
living
there. It wasn't maybe
in
not
downtown Orlando.
Yeah.
There's like a basketball court.
There's a basketball
It's fenced
inside.
in, right?
Yeah. Well, inside the building they have a huge gym. I forget the name of it. But we would volunteer. I did it like 3 or 4 years in a row. We'd go out there and play with the kids and bring snacks and just kind of hang out with them and, you know, talk to them. So I love doing stuff like that. So if you ever have any type of charitable event that you throw, let me know. But we do also do the events where we set up tables and we come out and we could teach people about insurance, or maybe have a giveaway and things like that too. So.
Okay. So let's just say in a nutshell, what would be the number one thing you would tell people, or families rather, in regards to insurance? Like, you know, because I mean, you've got kids playing baseball, you've got, you know, traveling teams, you've got your family vacations, all these different scenarios. The minute you walk out your home, or even within your home, anything can happen.
Yeah.
So to sum it up, what would you suggest that would get people to, like, hey, you know, gravitate towards you?
Yeah.
And what you have to offer education-wise and value-wise?
It's really just investing in the things that you work hard for. You know,
protecting your assets.
And even if you don't have a lot of assets, protect yourself. You know, it's unfortunate, like we said, there's so many different scenarios we can talk about where you will find yourself in a really sticky situation. And if you don't have the right coverage, it will only happen to get worse, you know. So let's say, for an example, a car accident, somebody getting severely injured, an accident in your home, a storm, your roof blows off. It's already traumatizing. It's already a traumatic experience. It's already, you know, so imagine there's a fire. Like, let's say I rent in my building, right? And a couple of years ago, a gentleman set a fire accidentally, and there was like 15 or 16 apartments that had to be evacuated. It's right after the New Year. If you have renter's insurance, you got to figure out how to replace all your own personal items. So $10 a month, I got $15,000 in coverage. They put me in a hotel, right? That's part of the coverage. They'll replace my personal items. It's like, why wouldn't you do something like that to protect yourself? It's already a traumatic experience. Sometimes you're displaced. You can't even go back into the apartment because structural damage, or your home, the roof, you know, could fall. You can't even get your toothbrush, you know? So let your company come in and take place and protect you during those already traumatic, catastrophic moments. And that's what I would tell people. Like, there's so many different, you know, I talked to so many different people across the U.S. for 5 years in the call center. You get people that give me the max. I just want to make sure I'm covered. I want a $2 million umbrella policy. I want the highest coverage limits on my car. I don't care, you can put my deductibles up or whatever. I want this coverage, that coverage. And then you get people that, no, I just want the cheapest, you know? Protect yourself. Protect yourself. Don't turn a bad situation into a worse situation by not having the right coverage, you know?
Now, aside from that, with, let's just say, especially with with life insurance, how can you take advantage of a life insurance policy turned into some sort of an investment? Because I know that's possible.
Yeah, so
How does that work?
so there are whole life policies which will accrue cash value.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are term life. So term life policies are for a specific term, for a specific amount. So that's awesome in your industry for new homeowners. If something happens to me, what happens to my mortgage? Well, if you have a term life policy, something happens to you, you die, your mortgage would be paid for.
A mortgage
So
protection
that's
policy.
Mortgage protection.
Okay,
That's
okay. So
super
that's something
important.
key for Florida homeowners.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mortgage protection. And then
and then the cash. What
and
was
then
it?
a whole life policy
Whole life
where
policy,
it
okay.
accrues a cash value.
Okay.
There's also annuities, and that's a whole different service that we offer too. So annuities, which again, lack of education, I really didn't even know much about annuities until my adult life. But you can take. Sometimes people have a lump sum of money and they just have it sitting in the bank, and you're probably getting 0.002%.
Of course.
Interest on it. It's not making any money, but if you invest your money into an annuity, you get a set interest rate. And then when it's time to retire, that annuity is going to pay you income after retirement. It's
Okay.
protected. If you get sued, they can't touch your annuity.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So a lot of people don't even know services that are out there to protect us. It's amazing. You'd be surprised what is out there, what you can put your money into that would, instead of it sitting in the bank,
Mm-hmm.
you put it into annuity. Let's say you leave your company, and I wish I would have known this when I switched careers. I didn't. When I left Sprint, after 10 years, I could have taken my 401k and rolled it over into an annuity. Or make sure that I had a life insurance policy in place at that time, so I was good. It was separate from Sprint. That much I knew, but definitely,
So you can roll your 401k into an annuity, stay with the annuity, and then continue to feed it?
right.
Or
So you take a lump sum and you put it in, and then
Okay.
it's earning an interest,
Gotcha.
on the annuity, etc. I will be 110% honest. I'm still learning about the annuities and more on the life insurance side because when I was in the DRC in the center, we weren't licensed for that. So I just got my life license.
Gotcha.
I know a lot about the industry. I know it on the personal side for myself, but as far as more education on more ways to offer it and make
how
the
to
money
turn
work
it
for
into-
you
exactly.
is what I'm learning. So
So the mortgage protection policy, how do you know how that works, or?
well, so let's say you take out, let's say you have a mortgage for $350,000, you can take out a term policy for $350,000,
Gotcha.
right? And
Okay.
then
How long
it
would
can
that term
decrease because your mortgage should be decreasing, so your premiums can change and decrease
Oh,
as well.
because it'll be based on your loan amount.
Right.
How much you have to pay off.
Yes, it
your
can
balance,
be,
your payoff balance.
Mhm.
Okay, interesting. That's very interesting to know.
Mhm.
So maybe next time we
Right.
could educate
Yes.
us a little bit more on
Mhm.
how that works and what the parameters are on
Yeah,
that.
it's so
'Cause
much
are there-
to learn.
Are
It
there
is.
loan limits on that, or does it matter what your, let's say you have a $650,000 mortgage? Does
I'm
that
not
matter?
110% sure. I always say 110. I don't know why. I get that from baseball. You better be giving 110%. Anyway, but I'm not 100% sure if there's loan limits. But I'm pretty sure you could take. You usually typically can take out a policy for any amount. It's just what you're gonna pay for.
What you're gonna pay?
What you're gonna put
Okay.
into
Your
it.
monthly
Your
rate.
monthly rate that you're gonna pay for that amount.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So right now, if people were to reach out to you to seek out more educational information or to get a quote on a policy, any policy, how would be best for them to reach out to you?
They can actually with us. One thing that I love about the service that we offer is we do give our direct cell phone number.
Okay.
So should I give them?
Yeah,
Okay.
if you want. However you feel people will reach out to you best.
So yeah, my cell phone number you can text, you can call. I'll also give my email and we can list it in the comments as well. But my direct cell phone number is 407-773-4768. And then my email is amy.bey, B-E-Y, @libertymutual.com.
Okay, and what about social media? Do you have a presence on
I
social
do.
media?
I
Have you
have.
started marketing your services professionally?
I have. I don't have a professional Facebook page yet because it took years to grow my personal page. So I do kind of mix in both, but I've never posted anything unprofessional or anything ignorant on my personal page. I'm all about the motivational videos, the quotes, the inspiration, helping people, looking for recommendations and things. So my Facebook page is Amy Z Bey. On Facebook, my Instagram is still A Bey, but
Okay.
so it's and that's the name they gave me when I moved to Florida because my name is Amy Bey. So literally,
Now that what? Hurricane
everybody,
Chris, right?
everybody calls me A Bey. So it's still that right now, but I promise you, it's classy and clean. But that's where you can find me.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, that pretty much sums up episode 7 of So You Can Florida. Thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Looking forward to sending you some referrals.
Yes.
I'm Robert Morillo again with the Cardona Signature Group of Compass, Florida. If you need anything in the Central Florida area, real estate related, feel free to give me a call for your purchase, sale, or investment. You can reach me at 407-209-7409 and real estate at robertkennethmorillo.com. And that's all we have for now.